Well, okay. Good morning, everybody. This is Wandering Through the Big Book, session number 40. Can you imagine? 40. This is December 5th, 2021. This is our second session on step 5. And the title of this session is The Exact Nature of My Wrongs. So we're going to start, as we always do, with opening words. And got readers ready. They're unmuted. Okay, here we go. Opening words. Welcome to this session of Wandering Through the Big Book. This is not a meeting of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. There is no group conscience, no seventh tradition, no requirement for membership. Everyone is welcome. Our primary purpose is taking an in-depth look at the book, Alcoholics Anonymous, in order to deepen and strengthen our own recovery and to try to help others to do the same and to try to become trusted servants of our fellowship. We are seeking conscious contact by trusting God, cleaning house, and helping others. And we're trying to improve that conscious contact by practicing steps 10, 11, and 12 every day and applying the spiritual principles we are learning to the details of our ordinary day-to-day lives. We will begin this gathering with a moment of silence to reflect on why we are here. And then Christina reading number 1.
Number 1, I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through and through. Perhaps you came to scoff, you will remain to pray. Page 0, right before page 1.
Thank you. And Robin, number 2.
Number 2, no attitude of holier than thou, no fees to pay, no axes to grind, no people to please, no lectures to be endured. These are the conditions we have found most effective. Page 18. And be quick to see where religious people are right. Page 87.
Thank you, Robin. And Amy, number 3.
If you are seriously alcoholic as we were, we believe you have but 2 alternatives. One is to go into the bitter end and blotting out of your consciousness how miserable you really are, page 25. And the other to ask our Creator each morning in meditation to show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love, page 83.
Thank you, Amy. Michelle, number 4.
Today is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will for us into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. This is the proper use of the will, page 85.
Okay, and Jason, number 5.
Good morning. I'm Jason. I'm an alcoholic. Just to the extent that I humbly rely on God and do as I think God would have me do, will I be enabled to experience spiritual serenity right in the midst of the human calamity. Page 68. Head in the clouds and feet firmly on the ground. Page 130.
Okay, thanks everybody. And thank you all for coming. And I'm gonna mute all. And there we go. Okay, the exact nature of my wrongs. And I'm saying my because it says our, but I think this is different for all of us. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about. And it just was interesting going through those readings because one way to approach this question is, well, what are the exact nature of my rights? You know, how does our book talk about right and wrong? You know, what makes something right or wrong? And so one of them, Amy read it. Part of what I wind up saying when I'm trying to say what is the exact nature of my wrongs is most of the sentences will start with I thought. You know, I thought this was my truth. And then the exact nature of my rights is, or I guess you could say I didn't know. And then the other side of that is, well, now I know. I didn't know I was seriously alcoholic. And I didn't know if I was seriously alcoholic that I only had two alternatives. I mean, I thought there were lots of alternatives. I had no idea that every day I'm supposed to carry the vision of God's will into everything I do. You know, I'm busy trying to bring my will to the moment. I don't even understand the difference between my will and God's will. And I certainly, number 5, which is for me the ultimate promise, the ultimate goal, the truth that just to the extent that I humbly rely on this thing, whatever it is, that this power that we call God, higher power, higher self, spiritual essence, whatever, just to the extent that I rely on that, and behave, you know, it's always two parts. It's mental understanding and behavioral effectiveness in the human world. Just to the extent that I do that, I'm gonna experience spiritual serenity right smack dab in the middle of the human calamity. You remember Rosanna, Saturday Night Live, back in the, it's always something, you know. If it's not one thing, it's another. The human calamity shows up on a daily basis as a result of, I'm going to say, our wrong thinking. So, this is a more challenging session for me. You know, I'm real comfortable when it's based on the book. So, because if I get lost or confused, all I got to do is figure out, you know, where I am in the book and look at it again. And right away, I feel like I'm back on track. This one's a little more open-ended. And I want you to know, I've been working on this all week. You know, I have pages here of the exact nature of my wrongs, and I've tried to organize it to some degree, but I cannot promise you that if this seems kind of random and unorganized, I hope you will forgive me. But I think it's a wonderful question to ask, and I know I've learned a lot just by trying to dwell on the question a little bit. So, but before getting going, oh, there you are. Okay. I'm trying to thank you all for coming, and I particularly want to thank Buck, because you know how they say the genius of Steve Jobs and Apple was that he got a sense of what we wanted before we knew it, you know, and I feel like Buck has helped us put up this website, and it's just wonderful for me. It's and I didn't even know how good that would feel. So it's wttbb.com, and we're trying to get these sessions up there. I'm trying to get the study guide up there, and a way for somebody else to make contact in case they wanted to join the session. So Buck, really thank you very much for what you've done. All right. Okay, so I think I'm going to jump to the end and then go back through it. So I've said before, I like to be precise. I like to be exact. and I don't like to be wrong. So even just getting into this, well, what's the exact nature of my wrongs? And just this whole idea of wrong is not an easy thing for me to do. And I've had to come at it from, I mean, you look at your life and you look where you wound up, you know, and it took me a long time to get here. You know, and that's really, I guess you could say the exact nature of my wrongs is the persistence of my character defects. And my character defects, the ones that I've named, selfish, arrogant, impatient, afraid, judgmental. So I go 63 years being selfish, living a self-centered, self-obsessed life. And I don't really know that there's any alternative to that. That's all I know. Arrogant, which is huge for me, because arrogant means I'm believing my own thinking. And if there's anything that I've learned from this deal, is that the exact nature of my wrongs is I think I can think the truth. You know, I think my mind is giving me a good perspective on my life. And here my mind is telling me, I need a drink, you know? I need a drink. This is not going well. I cannot proceed with the day. I need a drink. And this is a good idea. You know, later on, as a result of this work, I discovered that I thought resentment was a good idea. I thought resentment was an effective way to correct your bad behavior that was making me feel bad. That's what my mind told me, sponsored my resentment. My mind told me that fear, you know, that the second thing that we inventory was the fundamental fear problem. And when you go to our book's explanation of fear, I fear because of the failure of my self-reliance. So bingo, what's the exact nature of my wrongs? I self-rely. And I don't even understand that there's an alternative. And I surely don't understand that if I'm a real alcoholic, my only two alternatives are keep doing what I'm doing and keep getting what I'm getting, or make some serious, radical, fundamental change, which I don't have the power to do. You know, another way of going at it, the ultimate problem is lack of power. The ultimate problem is that I can think I want to live this way, and I can't do it. I can use all my human power, but it's not making a difference in the outcome of my behaviors or my situation in the world. So, so part of the exact nature of my wrongs is from an early age, as early as I can remember, I had this terror of feeling wrong. And it drove me to try to live in a, quote, right way. It drove me to be a good student, because it wasn't like I was trying to please anybody else. I just didn't want to hear that inner voice, you dummy. You should have known better. You could have worked harder. You could have done better, whatever. And I experienced tremendous self-doubt. And I know I've mentioned before the questions that haunted me. How did I get here? What am I supposed to do while I'm here? what the heck is going to happen when I die? Because it doesn't take too long in life before you see death somehow or other, and you start wondering, what's that about? And the one that haunted me the most, why can't I feel better than I do? Somehow my mind had this. Well, Chuck Chamberlain said it, and I know we went over this. That he said that he's observed 3 characteristics in alcoholics, and the first is that we are more sensitive to the pains of life than most people. I think the way I would say it is I took things more seriously. I took things very personally. But we feel things more deeply. And that means when it goes negative, we have a greater need for relief of some kind. And that's where we were talking earlier about, when we get in a funk, what to do. And oftentimes our minds will go to drinking. We start thinking about drinking again. And the miracle is when you feel bad, but you don't think about drinking. But really all my mind is saying, I don't like what I'm feeling, and I'm searching for a way to like the way I'm feeling, as opposed to not liking it. I've got to figure out where I'm at now. Okay, so fear was a huge part of my life until I started drinking. I could drink away the fear, and when this book proposes that just to the extent that I rely on God and behave as I'm supposed to behave, which it says in different ways in different parts of the book, I will not experience fear. I will experience serenity. And in another spot, it defines serenity as patience and tolerance and kindness and love. And certainly the opposites of those are restless, irritable, and discontent. Restless in the body, irritable in the mind, discontent in the spirit or the soul. Okay, so the exact nature of my wrongs. I guess the exact nature of my wrongs is, number one, I thought I was alone. It was sort of me against the world. Maybe I could find some people that were like-minded, but I thought I was alone. I thought I had to figure it all out. I thought I was the captain of my soul. And a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't know until stumbling into Alcoholics Anonymous at age 63. And I thought I was a smart guy. So, okay. One of the things that A Course in Miracles says is that you will identify with what you think makes you safe. And I would say, oh, I know where I was going. Okay, got to remember this one. So Chuck C and his 3 characteristics. So the first is we feel things more deeply. The second is, and this is fascinating because I realized I felt this, I just didn't. So he says, second is we have a deep interior awareness that life is supposed to be a big and a beautiful and a good and a loving thing. Wow. A deep interior awareness that life itself is a miracle, and life is supposed to be a deep and a good and a beautiful, loving thing. But that's not what we're experiencing. And so if you couple this very sensitive personality with a deep awareness that life is supposed to be good, but what you see is not good or doesn't feel good, how can you live in that tension without seeking relief from something? And what happens, at least what happens to me, I believe I was alcoholic from the get-go. It's just a question of when it showed up, because I can't drink safely. If I could, I'd still be drinking for sure, because it did bring relief. So emotionally sensitive, awareness that life is supposed to be good, and then this relentless drive to want things to be better. And then we get trapped. I got trapped in my human experience, thinking I knew what I was doing. The things that made me feel safe, going back to A Course in Miracles, you will identify with what you think makes you safe. What I thought made me safe was my mind. I trusted my own thinking. I remember a moment turning away from organized religion, my mind telling me this was crap because these people weren't living what they were talking. And my mind said, trust me, I will get us out of here. I will lead you to the truth. And I'm telling you, I tried my best. For me anyway, the exact nature of my wrongs is that I believed my own thinking, and I didn't really think that there was an alternative to that. I did not think that there was this other resource. And the problem for us, I think, I'm saying us, but and that's a generalization, but the problem is that I could think, well, maybe there is this other resource. And you could tell me, like, one of our little formulas is, it's in the third step. First of all, quit playing God. Now, I don't understand what that even means, but that's what they say. Quit playing God. 2, invite God in. As your director, you're the actor. As your principal, you're the agent. As your parent, you're the child, or as your friend. But invite God into the situation. And then 3rd, it's one of the 3rd step promises, do as directed. And it promises that if you do as directed, you'll get everything you need. It's page 62 and 63, I'm pretty sure. And another formula that comes along in 11 is pause, ask, listen, do. You know, the pause for me is step 10. And that when I am selfish, resentful, afraid, or whatever it is, the 4 words that often show up, I am to pray at once for removal, make amends if called for, share with somebody, pray once for removal, share with somebody, make amends if called for, and turn my mind to service, which shows up as the question at the end. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. So what I'm trying to say here is, because I love to think, I love formulas. That's why I loved math. I loved algebra. I loved solving for an unknown. You know, if Fred's leaving from point A to meet you for lunch at point B, and he's going to average 50 miles an hour and it's 200 miles, what time have you got to leave from point C? You know, and working it out into a formula and solving for an unknown, it was like alcohol for me. I thought, wow, You know, you can get to a definite right answer if you can get it into a formula. So I love this formula of pause, ask, listen, do. And if I do that, that I can be shown the way of patience and tolerance and kindness and love, the exact opposites of impatience, unkindness, selfishness, and fear. Or tolerance is the whole judging thing. So pause, ask, listen, do. And the problem is, you can tell me that formula, and I can pause, you know, just stop, breathe, whatever. I can say, listen, how can I best serve thee, or what would you have me do? And then comes the hard part. I can't listen. I can't listen because I got a lot going on up here. You know, the Enneagram, one of the things that it talked about was what's in the background of your attention. In other words, you got your attention, you know, but what's going on in the background? And it does these different things, like the question for 5, 6, and 7. How does this all fit together? It's a real mental approach. The 2, 3, and 4, do you like me? You know, what's in the background of their attention is, do you like me? And their strategy for getting you to like them. And then 8, 9, and 1, oh, well, I don't care how it all fits together. And I don't really care whether you like me or not. Deal with me, you know, let's party, or whatever it is. Just different approaches, but that's the problem. And the Oxford groups come along and say, well, if you want a relationship with the spiritual reality of your life as a created spiritual being having a human experience, you got some house cleaning to do. If you're really interested in this, you got to get emptied out of this stuff. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to hear. At least half of your attention is going to be on whatever you got going on up in here, based on your past and your struggles and all of that. So the exact nature of my wrongs is I can't put the formula into action because I can't do one part of the formula. And I've got to do some kind of house cleaning, therapeutic emptying out to get there. I mean, to be able to listen, to be able to receive. One of the prayers that I don't know where it came from, but I'm growing to love it. It's 8 words: empty me, heal me, guide me, use me. You know, 8 words that, because the first thing is, if I'm going to be healed, I've got to get emptied. We were talking earlier about somebody feeling in a funk. I think that's part of the emptying out process. I think that's actually this stuff in the mind coming out. It's just stronger. The feelings attached to it are stronger than my awareness of myself as a patient, tolerant, kind, and loving spiritual being having a human experience that's causing me to feel impatient, intolerant, unkind, and selfish or frightened. So empty me, and then once I'm emptied, you can guide me, because I'll be able to hear. And then if I do what you guide me to do, not only am I promised I will experience serenity in the midst of the calamity, but I'll feel better. I'll feel okay. So right back to right and wrong. You know, what's our book? It never talks about right and wrong. I mean, it uses this word in the in the step. But the truth is, the only right and wrong is, does it work for you? Is it working for you? And whether or not I can see whether or not it's working for me. And it's why people so often say, I thought serenity was the goal. You know, I'm praying for serenity. I'm trying for serenity. It ain't happening. And yet, then I will say, they will say, I discovered serenity is not the goal. Serenity is the outcome. Serenity is the indicator. If I'm feeling restless, irritable, and discontent, there's something I am not doing. I'm either not pausing, I'm not asking, I'm not capable of listening, or I don't want to I don't want to do what I'm being guided to do, you know. So let's see. I want to talk about Emmett Fox and the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the time talking about prayer. So back to this idea of you will identify with what you think makes you safe. So Emmett Fox has this wonderful interpretation of the four horsemen of the apocalypse that appears in Revelation in the Bible. And the four horsemen are the pale horse, the red horse, the black horse, and the white horse. And you know, we have our own four horsemen: terror, bewilderment, frustration, and despair. And that's not what he's talking about here. What he's talking about, that if any of you have this reader, this is in August, toward the end of August, and so I'm just going to read you this one part so you'll get the idea. And this also relates directly to the Enneagram for me, because the Enneagram distinguishes between head people, heart people, and gut people. And the head obviously represents intellectual judgment. The heart represents the passions, the emotions, and the gut represents action and the body and sensation and all of that kind of stuff. So the four horsemen of the apocalypse stand for the four parts or elements of our human nature. There is, first of all, the physical body, the thing that you see when you look into the glass. Then there is your feeling nature or emotions. Although you cannot see your feelings, you are tremendously conscious of them. Third, there is your intellect, which contains every bit of knowledge that you possess. And finally, there is your spiritual nature, your real eternal self, the true you, the I am, the indwelling Christ. This is your real identity, which is eternal. Almost everyone believes in its existence, but most people are very little conscious of it as an actuality. So what's the exact nature of my wrongs? I'm way hung up in the mind and the body and the emotions. I'm obsessed with them, and I have no sense of my spiritual nature, my soul, my eternal soul, whatever you want. And then within that, he goes into the Enneagram sort of stuff where I over-identify with my mind. That's what I did. Or I over-identify with my emotions, and or I over-identify with my body and my physical sensations. All the while thinking, if I could solve this dilemma, I'd be okay. I'd feel okay. And then I don't have to worry about being wrong. And how in our work, in our steps, this whole thing is about becoming conscious of this spiritual nature within. It ain't out there, it's within. And encouraging my conscious relationship with that. And when I'm aware that I'm aware of it, we call it conscious contact. And we go through this stuff 4 through 9 to get aware, to get more somewhat aware of our spiritual nature. And then if we will do 10, 11, and 12 in the quest to improve our awareness of our spiritual nature, we will in fact live out the promise and the task of the 11th step. You know, it's so, which is going to bring us right to prayer. So my belief is this whole deal is about getting to step 11 and taking step 11 seriously and putting myself in a position to seriously inquire, why am I here? What do you want me doing here? And it's why I'm becoming a big fanboy of St. Ignatius, because he says the primary purpose of your life is to love and honor and serve your Creator and thereby save your soul. Well, I don't think my soul needs saving. I think it's my human self that needs saving, but I sure am intrigued by the idea, well, what is my soul here to learn? Of Course in Miracles has another wonderful line about trials are but lessons that you failed to learn before, presented once again, so that where you made a faulty choice, you can make a better choice instead. So what is that choice? You know, what's the exact nature of my wrongs? What is the choice? I think my only real choice is, who am I going to listen to? Am I going to listen to this? You know, am I going to go to this thing to tell me what to do, to tell me how to solve my fear problem, try to get the power to solve my fear problem? Or am I going to go to whatever you call it, this? My heart, my soul, I don't know. The Spirit of God in me. I mean, you know, deep down in every man, woman, and child, the fundamental nature of God that I've covered over with pomp, calamity, worship of other things. I'm blanking on the page number, but I know it's We Agnostics, and guessing it's 50 something. What's the exact nature of my wrongs? I had no idea. I thought I was a body, mind, and emotions. I thought I had to live under the tyranny of my body, mind, and emotions. I thought if I had enough money, enough toys, and enough alcohol, I could handle anything coming my way. I honestly thought that. And the problem was, it never worked. It never worked long term. And worse still, it started to really impede, the alcohol part, impede my ability to live here. So prayer. So, gosh, I don't know whether I got all this stuff. Well, look at this. I'm telling you, pages of the exact nature of my wrongs. Oh, I forgot this one. Oh, yeah, okay. So, so there's a moment in our book when it talks about, excuse me, 1 second, I have to get a book. I'm sorry, I know this is not very professional. We're trying to be professional here. It's in We Agnostics, and boy, this book can be annoying sometimes, you know. There it is. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is at the top of 46. It starts at the bottom of 45. We were bothered with the thought that faith and dependence upon a power beyond ourselves, well, it ain't beyond ourselves, it's within ourselves as well, was somewhat weak, even cowardly. You know, we have this feeling that people that can't make their self-reliance work, that somehow they're weak. They're not doing it the way it's supposed to be done. And so the reverse of that is understanding that I need to change, but I don't have the power to change. And the only place I'm going to get this power is when I start getting involved with my spiritual nature. That's the exact nature of my rights. And I've already got the thing, you know, deep down in me, I've already got this thing. And the problem is that I've covered this thing over with pomp, calamity, and worship of other things. So I just want to point out too that this wonderful statement on page 49, instead of regarding ourselves as intelligent agents, spearheads of God's ever advancing creation, we agnostics and atheists choose to believe that our human intelligence was the last word, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and end of all. Rather vain of us, wasn't it? So that's the exact nature of my wrongs. I believe everything starts and stops up here. I'm going to let my life be led by my human brain. And then what happens, of course, is we establish all these habit patterns early in life as to how to handle my life. And then I'm a victim of my own habit patterns, which is something else I didn't know. I just didn't understand. Okay, so just back to prayer. So I love hearing old timers tell a story where they come into AA, and their very first day, they come into AA because they don't want to drink. They don't want a relationship with God. They just don't want to drink. They can't stop drinking. And somebody else sticks their finger in their chest and says, if you will do these 5 things, you never have to feel bad again. Pray in the morning that God keep you away from a drink or a drug. Pray in the evening, say thank you, no matter what. Say thank you for another day. Read a couple of pages of the book, go to a meeting, and have some one-on-one contact with another alcoholic. The 5 things. So, and then they will say, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in prayer, but I wanted to stop drinking. So I did what they told me. I put your keys underneath your bed, so you have to get on your knees to get the keys in the morning. It sounds silly, but they will say, so I did that. I did what they told me, and that was 30 years ago, and now I have a life that I couldn't even imagine. It took me a while to get to prayer. It just took me a while to get it. I don't know why, but today prayer is everything. Prayer is everything. And our book says it gives us tons of prayers through the whole thing. And it says that again about 11 is that's where I pray only for knowledge, feeling, intuition, understanding, whatever, of what I am here to do and be, and then I get the power to pull it off. So I'm going to stop. Well, we'll get back to this in 11. Where is it? Oh yeah, okay. But I just wanted to read you this. This is a prayer. It's based on Emmett Fox's an article called "Alter Your Life" and what to do if you really want to alter your life. And he says take an inventory and figure out what you want more of and what you want less of. And what I've just, what happens is, of course, what I want more of is the opposite of what I want less of. I want less self-doubt. I want more of a certainty of purpose and meaning and what my life is about. I want less self-hatred. I want to experience love, whatever. So anyway, so this is a second part of this prayer, and it says, may I be your joyful servant today. Help me live this day deliberately and reverently instead of in a panic. Free from the bondage of desire and fear, in awe and wonder at your infinite and eternal creativity. Certain, no self-doubt, certain of your love and peace and power as the source and pathway of my life. I give my life to you to guide today. That's a line from A Course in Miracles. Empty me, heal me, guide me, use me. Thy will, not mine, be done. May I love my neighbor as you love me. Please help me clarify and simplify my life that I may live with faith, compassion, and enthusiasm, Amy, to the end of my days. It's going to be a good day today. Glad to be here. Thanks a lot. And I know how I'm doing when I hit, it's going to be a good day today. Sometimes I hit that with real confidence. Yeah, it's going to be a good day today. And then sometimes, I say it's going to be a good, and I know I just can feel a little doubt in my mind. I'm not so sure. Depends on this and that. Okay, one last thing that I didn't hit, and that is this idea. Do I think I created myself? Because depending on my answer, different things are going to result. If I think I created myself, then I get to do what I want. I don't have any obligation to anybody else. If I think I'm a created being, then it creates this obligation to my creator to figure out what, what's it say in the, on the fear page 68, we're to avoid apologizing for God, and instead we're to let God demonstrate through us what God can do. Well, so the ultimate exact nature of my wrongs is I think I created myself and I can do what I want. And the truth for me is the joy of recognizing that I'm a created being and that all I got to do is try to behave as I think my creator wants me to behave, and I'm going to feel okay. So, okay, that's it. That's enough. I'm going to gong the gong, and Buck's going to turn off the recording of this, and we'll have some open discussion. And thank you all for your, not going to be here next week, and we'll have then the week after that, it's, well, I'll tell you by email. it'll be the third thing on step 5, and it's going to be about sponsorship, because there's so little in the book about sponsorship, and it's such an important element on both sides, both for the sponsor and the sponsee. So we'll be talking about that next time. Thank you all for your attention, and I hope I haven't muddied the water. Any rate, okay, here we go.